Hello, and welcome to the Extra Point Show this week. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope you guys had a good Halloween. Got yourselves full of fucking candy and treats.
You know, it's funny. I didn't eat a single piece of candy, but I've lost interest in. I don't know. I've lost interest in candy. Getting older,
I had a little bit of candy. I didn't eat too much because I'm a grown ass man, so the fucking taste for candy isn't really there like it used to be. But
it's gone away.
Fucked around with a piece or two. But yeah, I mean, it's officially November. We've made it to November. 2022 is almost over. We've officially passed the trade deadline, so I guess we'll start there. A lot of action around the NFL yesterday. A lot of action, hot action. Total of 13 players moved across 11 deals. Some of the big ones. This one actually happened a little bit before the trade deadline. I'll just mention this one. The Bears traded Roquan Smith. So the Bears, after getting a big win over New England, I mean, they're 3-5 now. They've been unloading. They traded Robert Quinn, like we talked about, to the Eagles last week. And then they traded Roquan Smith, their linebacker, who obviously a lot of Washington people wanted to see.
That's what I was going to say. I saw so many posts about being mad about
So Roquan going to the Ravens in exchange for, I believe it was, I think they got like a second, a fifth, and another linebacker in AJ Klein for him. So 2 picks and a player. But Roquan Smith, former first-round pick, he's been having a great season for the Bears, led them in tackles, had a really good game against the Patriots on Monday night. So, yeah, Roquan Smith going to the Ravens. I mean, their defense has kind of struggled. He's obviously going to make them a lot better, and they're in first place in the AFC North now. We also had, this one hits a little bit close to home. We sent Jeff Wilson to the Dolphins for a 5th-round pick. Obviously, relations continue to be good between the Shanahan-McDaniel firm. Obviously, we sent them Raheem in the offseason, and now we've sent our second running back. So it seems like whenever Kyle gets done with a back, we send him to Mike McDaniel. And
it's like Mike's he picks up the phone and gives Mike a call first. He's like, "Hey, Mike, man, so I'm gonna let you know I'm looking to trade these guys.
Mike,
if you have any interest,
can I get that 5th rounder from you? I'd like to get a little bit more for a 5th rounder. I mean, Jeff Wilson played in 8 games this year, started 6. He leads us in rushing with 468 yards rushing.
I think that's not the greatest value for him. I think he should have gotten a little more than that.
Right.
I was surprised
Kyle hooked up his boy.
But I know that Elijah Mitchell's supposed to be coming back, so I guess
exactly after the bye, and then we've got CMC.
It seems like it's always good for. That's true. Oh, that's what it was. I wasn't thinking about it.
It was CMC.
That's what it was.
CMC,
100%.
Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna have Elijah and CMC. Plus, we still have Jordan Mason, who's pretty much untested, and Tyrion Davis-Price, who's back from injury now. So we've got backs. It's just and TC's on the practice squad. You guys also sent one away. Sending William Jackson III, Billy Jax.
Yeah, thank God.
We gave him way better of a nickname than he deserved in the games that he played in for you guys. Billy Jax III, sent away to the Steelers. Obviously, they needed a corner since Akello, our former corner, was on the mend. So they sent you guys, what was it, a 5th round for him and a 6th, right?
It's either a 5th or I thought it was just one. I thought it was either a 5th or a 6th, but it's something high.
I think you guys sent William Jackson and a 6th to
and they
them
gave
for
us a 5th.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds right. I think you're right. Yeah, I mean, he wasn't a good fit for us. I mean, it seemed like the coaches were trying to use him in a way that he really isn't strong in.
He's not used to playing a lot of zone coverage.
Right. So, I mean, a lot of fans, sit there and think he sucks. And it's like, well, I don't know if it's that he sucks. I think they're just using him in the wrong way.
When he was in Cincinnati, the scheme was a lot more where he was able to press cover guys off the line. And it was a lot better fit. Because I remember we talked about it when he came over from Cincinnati. We were pretty excited. Yeah. I don't think we loved the fact that they paid him $42 million. But, I mean, we were excited about bringing him in because they needed another corner opposite Kendall Fuller.
Right.
But, off the hook for the rest of his salary. That's the main thing.
Yeah, that's the thing I'm happy the most about. He clearly didn't want to be on the team anymore, and I don't blame him, I guess, if they're trying to use him outside of how he's comfortable and what he's best at. It just that doesn't make sense, and that's a coaching issue. I mean, we can go into that later, but
yeah. And then the Broncos sent former first-round defensive lineman Bradley Chubb to the Dolphins. He's going to be going over there. They traded a first-round pick for him. So the Dolphins. they've acquired 3 different first round picks, like through working with us and like us trading up in the Trey Lance trade and things like that. So they had 3 first round picks, and they traded them all. They traded 1 to get Tyreek. They traded 1 to get Bradley Chubb, and then they traded 1 to draft, and then they kept 1 to draft Jalen Waddle. So out of those 3 first round picks, they got Tyreek Hill, Bradley Chubb, a pretty good pass rusher.
That works. That's pretty good trade value there. Yeah, that's damn. So they got smart Miami, move on their part.
Wheeling and dealing over there. Yeah. I'll have to show you this hilarious press conference. We don't have time to get into it right now, but it's this hilarious press conference with Mike McDaniel, where because they've been asking him about his quarterbacks being concussed like all the games. He's like, "What if we did something crazy, guys?" And he's like, "We talked about the Minnesota Vikings, which was the team that they were going to play." I was like, this guy's pretty funny. I mean, he's definitely shows more personality than Kyle up there on the podium sometimes. Yeah. Chase Claypool traded from the Steelers. Obviously, I think that's an emergence of George Pickens. They really like that rookie. I mean, he can catch about everything. Chase Claypool traded for a 2nd-round pick to the Bears, giving Justin Fields another weapon outside of Darnell Mooney and Cole Kmet, because the Bears' offense obviously doesn't have much. I mean, they've got Khalil Herbert and Montgomery at running back, but that's about the gist of it. The Dolphins, who they just acquired Jeff Wilson, and then they traded Chase Edmonds away. I guess Mike McDaniel wanted guys that were a better fit and that, were in his system, obviously, you know, because they run the same
smart move.
offensives. Yeah. So they traded Chase Edmonds away, who really wasn't doing much with Miami, and they traded him to the running back needy Broncos, who have basically just had Melvin Gordon after Javonte Williams went down, and Latavius Murray too. But Melvin Gordon's been fumbling a lot, so obviously he's been in the doghouse. And then currently suspended wide receiver Calvin Ridley was traded. We don't know when Calvin Ridley's going to be able to play again, but he was traded to the Jacksonville Jaguars. So he'll be able to play eventually at some point when he's reinstated. And then I guess the last big one here, we'll post them on the screen, but we won't get in every single one. T.J. Hawkinson traded. This one I kind of was surprised by because it was 2 division rivals. The Lions sending him across over to the Vikings, for a 2nd-round pick. And then T.J. Hawkinson took a little shot at the Lions after that, and he said he's excited to finally be able to win some games now in his career. Yeah.
Wow, damn.
So,
it's funny. He's on my fantasy team now, so I'm hoping maybe he'll go off with the Vikings, but not this week though.
Yeah, that's true. We'll have to talk more about Vikings week and the return of the Kirk Cousins game, because I'm sure that's going to be the talk of the town. But yeah, those are the major trades coming in at the trade deadline. Also, of course, most notably for us was the CMC trade. We covered that on last week's show, where we gave up 4 picks, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th for Christian McCaffrey. And in 2 games with us, he's been playing huge dividends. We'll talk about his touchdown triple crown a little bit more later, because he got the touchdown trifecta, threw one, caught one, and ran one in. So pretty damn good. Yeah,
definitely.
Okay.
When I saw the highlight of him throwing that pass, I was like, is that what just happened? Did I see the right thing?
Yeah. Yeah, Jimmy just swung it out to him in the on almost like a screen type attempt, and then at that point Ayuk was just wide open. It was too perfect. So I mean, no Debo, no problem, surprisingly. This other thing, have you seen this? This is pretty fucked up. The Antonio Brown's latest fucking
No, I was just reading that here, and I did not see that. That's hilarious, though. Like,
so he posted a legit picture of himself from like after they won the Super Bowl 2 years ago against the Chiefs with Tampa, and he's like hugging Giselle, and he just out of the blue, like after Tom announces his fucking retirement, or actually it might have been right before the Tampa kicked off their game. He posts this fucking picture, and it's like, what the fuck are you doing, dude? It's like Tom Brady was crazy, never anything but cool and supportive. I mean, he let Antonio Brown live with him 2 separate times. Once when Antonio Brown came to New England, and then once when he was still looking for a house in Tampa. Tom was like, "Hey man, come stay with me." So, I mean, Tom was like nothing but supportive, but AB comes out with this picture, and then he was on a podcast, and they're like, well, what's the reason for that? And I guess like it developed into this thing where he got the picture printed onto t-shirts and he was selling them for the fatherless children, which is, you know, kind of bizarre. What? So, I mean, I guess like it's I guess he's trying to do some humanitarian work, but at like Tom Brady's like fucking broken-hearted expense at this point.
Yeah, I mean, everything that Antonio Brown does is always like entertaining and funny in a way. But
highly questionable. Yeah, exactly. So like, I saw this podcast that he was on, and they're like, well, why would you do this? And he's like, you know, he didn't see, like, the guy was like, you're basically taking a dig at Brady, and he's like, it's not a dig. He's like, I'm doing it for the fatherless children. He's like, it's you know, for a message. And like, he didn't seem to get like the correlation. And then he's like, then the guy that was hosting the podcast made the reference that he's like, well, he's like, if one of my buddies gets divorced, and like, let's say his ex-wife hits me up, like, and I've always kind of stood by that rule too. Like, you know, like, if you've ever messed with one of the homies, like, definitely off limits. Like, that's just, you know, that's just ticky-tacky bullshit. And I mean, especially a man that lets you live in his house twice. Like,
I mean, he helps
good
him out
Mr.
twice,
Brady.
and he still does that. Like,
and that to this day, like, Tom's never said a bad word. Like, remember when Antonio Brown got released? Tom's statement was like, you know, we're all friends to him. Like, obviously that relationship's going to extend beyond football. You know, like, we just hope he gets the help he needs. Obviously, he needs support.
Yeah, I mean, it's not
like
Tom that fired him from the Bucks. Like, you know, it has nothing to do with Tom. Like,
yeah, exactly. So, kind of a bizarre thing. I mean, Antonio Brown, always entertaining. Before this, I think the last thing he did on social media was when he was swimming naked and was trying to show that girl his I don't know if you heard about that.
No, I did not.
But he was like trying to chase a girl around a pool, butt ass naked with his dick out. So kind of bizarre shit going on. I don't know that man's quite right in the head. I think he's officially retired from football though, so I don't think we're going to be seeing him in the NFL anymore. I think he's pursuing rap and other entrepreneurial bullshit.
Yeah.
Jesus, just what a disaster that man is. Like, it's like he's always got to do something to try to stay relevant. It's like anytime Tom does anything.
Seeing him take his jersey off on the field though, that was like that was
that was the other thing he did. Like that. He photoshopped a picture of Brady like while he's running off the field, like doing the peace sign. He photoshopped Brady's body over his like legs, and like Brady's like doing the peace out sign, like Brady was like retiring and leaving after he's been struggling so much. So he's just clowning Brady a lot right now. It's kind of fucking bizarre. But next thing here, I'll just mention this briefly. Today, it was announced, unfortunately, that Hall of Fame, the only punter, actually, that's ever made it into the Hall of Fame, Ray Guy, and actually what they named the Best Punter of the Year award after. You know, it's called the Ray Guy Award for that specific reason. I mean, he's the best punter to ever do it. He passed away, unfortunately, today at 72. He was selected in 1973 in the first round of the draft, which was, you know, pretty unheard of for a punter, first punter that's ever happened to. He played his entire 14-year career with the Raiders, and then he made it to 3 Super Bowls and 7 Pro Bowls in that time. So definitely thoughts and prayers go out to him. Obviously, when he was enshrined into the Hall of Fame, since Madden was his coach, Madden was the guy that introduced him, and it's kind of sad that in the last year now we've lost both those guys, Madden and Ray Guy. So, T's and P's to the Guy family, and you know, obviously, as a former kicker myself, I was always really like I watch a lot of tape of guys like punting and kicking, like that shit like fascinates me. Like the normal person would probably be bored shitless of that. But, like when I get to the stadium early and you're watching the kickers like kick into the nets and shit, like. But yeah, thoughts and prayers to the Guy family. Obviously, he's like a fucking hero to all kickers everywhere. So, definitely wanted to take a moment to honor him.
You got Derrick Henry also with 6 games over 200.
Yeah. So I was going to mention that Derrick the King Henry, 32 carries, 219 yards, 2 touchdowns. Really just slaughtered that Texan defense. And I remember we talked about in fantasy, I was like, start Derrick Henry, because I like him anyway. But, I mean, he's going to kill the Texans.
There's no doubt. Like, I'm not even that surprised that they got that many yards. Like, I mean, it's a lot.
Yeah. I mean, Malik Willis, Malik Willis making his first NFL start, 6 out of 10, 55 yards, no touchdowns, 1 pick.
Ooh.
Sacked 3 times.
Ooh.
So I don't think they're going to be calling for him to replace Tannehill anytime soon. Tannehill, of course, out with an ankle injury.
When did they draft him? Wasn't it in the first round?
No. Only Pickett went in the first round. He was was he a second or a third rounder?
I feel like it was pretty low, but because I thought he was one of the lower ones to go. But yeah, it was probably second or third. Because like Sam Howell went in the 5th to us, and it's like he'd be better than that, I think. I mean, no one knows, but he looked good in the preseason.
Yeah, he was drafted 3rd round. Oh, okay.
3rd round.
Third round. Yeah. And I mean, what you think he brings to the table in the rushing game, he had 5 carries for 12 yards. So, I mean, he had a few carries, but not that's like 2 yards per.
Dude, Jimmy
carry,
could get better numbers than that. That's awful.
Yeah, Jimmy had like a 15-yard run the other week, called back for a hold, and I was like, "Damn it, that would have like helped his career average so much."
Right?
Just let that stand. I was like, "No," but that's probably why he got 15 yards, because it was fucking wide open with the hold. All right, so let's just go through these games real quick. We're not going to go into them in as great a detail as we normally do, but on the Thursday night game, we had the Ravens and the Bucks. Bucks put up a better effort than they did against Carolina for sure, but they did lose 27 to 22.
They're still shit in the bed though. I mean, the Bucks are
because they can't run the ball. Like, another game where they couldn't run the ball. I mean, in this one, just 15 carries, 44 yards. Tom again throwing 44 times for 325 yards. I mean, you're asking a lot of a 45-year-old man when you can't help him out with the run game.
Right.
And then Broncos Jags, the game across the pond in London. I actually thought the Jags would win this game. I've liked how the Jags have been playing.
I thought
this year.
so too. I mean, I guess Russell's maybe starting to cook, but not with his numbers. 18 to 30.
Russell basically has
a touchdown.
Russell's got like a hungry man meal in the microwave right now. is his level of fucking cooking? Like, we haven't seen Russell cook up the filet mignon yet. But, I mean, he's got like a hungry man dinner in the microwave.
Yeah, you haven't even seen him like cook up a burger on the grill. I mean, fuck the filet mignon.
This is like drive-through fast food Russell Wilson right here that we're seeing. Yeah, but they 3-5 now. The Broncos are. The Jags are 2-6 after they lost a close game. Broncos country, let's ride, or whatever his fucking
one last thing about that
tagline
game. ETN went off on that game. I just feel like that's worth mentioning.
He did.
24 carries, 156 yards, and 1 touchdown.
ETN.
And I also know you picked him off the player waiver wire after I dropped him.
I needed him, and I've been losing, dog. I've been fucking struggling, and it's not enough. I fucked up like last week because I fucking started all the wrong guys that I should have.
I know. I was looking at your thing. I was like, oh, God, he's got so many points down there. Like, shit.
I should have started Chuba Hubbard because I picked him up, and I guess we'll good segue into the fucking Panthers-Falcons game.
This was probably one of the most surprising games, or like maybe one of the best games, I would say, of the week. Because I saw a little bit of
score.
Yeah, it was being tied in overtime,
yeah.
and it was a good game, I gotta say.
Yeah. The total for this game was set at 43 points. That's what Vegas thought the game's total points would be. You pick either over or under.
Like almost,
and it blew past that. Yeah, absolutely.
Damn.
PJ Walker, who it's been announced that he's going to become the starter. Baker's now the number 2 quarterback in Carolina, which is a crazy development.
Oh, wow, that's insane.
So PJ Walker, former XFL and Arena League star, going 19 out of 36 for 317, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. 1 week after, the huge upset win over Tom Brady. The notable thing about this was Deonta Foreman, who, again, I had on my bench, had 26 carries, 118 yards, 3 touchdowns. I should have started him, dude. I didn't. I thought the Falcons' defense with Grady Jarrett in there would hold up better.
Like, that's one of those things. Like, how would you know? It sucks when it happens, but like,
I started him this week. He's going to get me 5 points.
Probably, exactly. That's how it works. Like, so don't even feel bad about it. Like,
yeah. Marcus Mariota actually had to throw the football a little bit. 20 of 28, 253, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks. Kyle Pitts got his 2nd touchdown of the season. Like to see him get more involved because he's one of the
Right.
best receiving tight ends in the NFL. Obviously, his blocking is a work in progress, but yeah. So Falcons are 4-4, Panthers 2-6. Then we had
the Bears Cowboys game.
Yeah.
Which I decided to bench Dak. I think after last week and put Geno Smith in, and he had like 25 points going into the half, but it actually stayed about 25.
Yeah, I was gonna say it probably evened out because they were up by so much. They probably just turned it over.
But I think he threw some picks, and that's what it was.
Yeah.
It lowered it back down.
Yeah, so I mean, Dak though, best game of the season. This is his third start, best game so far. 21-27, 250, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. Tony Pollard went off with 14 carries, 131, 3 touchdowns. Obviously, no Zeke, but Tony Pollard proved that he was more than up to the task.
Yeah, absolutely.
I will say this. I mean, I'm not going to toot my own horn too much, but in the last week's fantasy segment, like I called for Pollard, I called for fucking Henry, and and then I said to pick up Chuba Hubbard. So I mean, those were like 3 solid fucking hits.
Definitely.
Unfortunately, I didn't start him myself. I picked him up, but I didn't start him. I was like, fuck. But we do have to give props because we never give this man props for passing the football. Justin Fields, 17-23, 151, 2 touchdowns, no picks. By far his best passing performance of the season.
Yeah, not in terms of yards, but in terms of
but completion percentage,
completion percentage, yeah, absolutely.
And the Bears ran for another 240. So I mean, they that continues to be their bread and butter, is that ground game.
Yeah.
Cowboys 6-2, Bears 3-5. Dolphins went to 5-3 after beating the now 1-6 Lions. 31-27.
Poor Motor City Dan Campbell, man.
Yeah.
Should have had that one.
And then after that game, they traded away Hawkinson too.
Well, the Lions only played like one half of football. I mean, that's why they lost. They were up at a point and then just did nothing for the entire second half.
Yeah, I see that. It was their return to DeAndre Swift. They got him back, although he only got 5 carries. He did get 5 catches, so definitely more of a threat. 5 catches, 27 yards, and a receiving touchdown. Hawkinson's last game as a Lion, he caught 3 for 80. Tua continuing to put up good numbers, 29-36, 382, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Raheem ran for 64. Taysom Hill had, oh my God. Did I say Tyreek Hill?
That's, dude, I do the opposite of that. Every time I'm looking at fantasy and I see Hill, I'm like, Tyreek. Oh, wait, it's Taysom. Shit.
Yeah. So Tyreek Hill had 12 catches for 188 yards. Jalen Waddle, 8 for 106 and 2 touchdowns. Tyreek so far on track, if he keeps up his current pace, to break Calvin Johnson's NFL receiving record of over 2,000 yards in a season.
Bro, imagine if Taysom Hill had 188 yards in a game.
That'd be insane. I mean, I'd assume it would probably have to be passing or on the ground. I don't think he'd have receiving yards, although they do throw to him sometimes.
Yeah.
The Vikings go to 6-1 after, doing us a favor in the division and knocking off the Cardinals. 34-26. Cardinals now 3-5. Vikings 6-1. Vikings are playing good football outside that one primetime game. I mean, if you can keep Kirk Cousins away from primetime, you'll have a pretty good...
seems to be his kryptonite. I don't know what it is with him. Like, he's like an above average.
He's a good player
most days, and then you get him on primetime, and he's just like, it's like the pressure it just gets to him. He can't.
I feel like we got some slack with our segment. It's because a lot of people maybe thought is Kirk Cousins the worst primetime quarterback ever? It's like, is Kirk Cousins the worst quarterback? And it's like, no, we're not saying he's the worst. He's actually a very good quarterback.
He's top 10 in the league, I would say. Like, close to 10.
But in prime time when the lights are the brightest,
he's probably like 28.
He's awful. He's god awful. It's the worst of all time. But yeah, he played well here because this was just, I think, like a 1:00 kickoff game. So no huge pressure. Implications here, Kurt. Justin Jefferson 6 for 98. Dalvin Cook had 20 carries, 111 yards, 1 touchdown. D-Hop in his second game back. He's had 2 games over 100 yards, 12 catches, 159, 1 touchdown. Kyler threw for 326, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks. Cardinals, was it 0-1 or 0-2 since Call of Duty came out, bud? Is it
I know, right?
So
I guess it'd be 0-2 now, right? Or no, it just came
0-2.
out. It's 0-1. It's 0-1.
Okay, it is 0-1.
Modern Warfare
Okay,
2 just came out
Yeah.
recently, so yeah, it's got to be
Tyler
0-1.
0-1 since the release of the new
That was
game.
one of the best things I'd seen like recently
Yeah.
when I saw that meme.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, fucking glorious.
Yeah, and then the Raiders.
This next game, I was gonna say this shocks me, dude. 24-0, man. I mean, like both of these teams went in with similar records.
Yeah, they were both 2-5, or
they were 2.
The rate, 2 and something like that. But the Saints are 3-5.
There's a bye week in there, and it's too much to think about. But you know what I mean. Like,
The Saints are 3-5. Raiders are 2-5. But they got blanked 24-0 by the Andy Dalton led Saints. So
yeah, it's just like I did not expect that at all. Andy
Dalton, he'll play some on and off football. I mean, he was a consistent guy for the Bengals for a lot of years, but obviously last year with the Bears, he was up and down.
One note I have about this game is Alvin Kamara did me a solid by getting me 40 fantasy points with his insane game. 18 carries, 62 yards, and a touchdown. 9 catches for 96 yards, and there were 2 touchdowns.
Between Chuba Hubbard, Tony Pollard, Alvin Kamara, how many running backs got 3 touchdowns? Christian McCaffrey had 3. Like, it seems like that was the thing to do for running backs across the NFL, was score 3 touchdowns. Get your trifecta on.
Unless you're Jonathan Taylor for the Colts on my opponent's team, because he didn't have a good game at all.
Johnny Taylor, former the leading rusher in the NFL. A lot of people, this is funny. We'll go into this real quick. Jonathan Taylor was drafted by so many people number 1 overall in their fantasy leagues because last year he led the NFL in rushing.
Oh,
and that. And I mean, imagine that. Like, he's had such a rough season, and he's expected to miss this week's game because of his ankle. He re-aggravated his ankle last week against Washington. But yeah. Also, last thing we'll touch on in this Raiders game: Devontae Adams, 1 catch, 3 yards.
Oh yeah, that's also
targets.
right. He's also on my team. I
what are you doing when you can't Josh McDaniel, one of the best offensive minds in football, longtime Patriots OC. You can't find a more creative way. You can't get him some screens or something. You can't find a way to get. You paid him so much money and you can't get him the football.
I think that's going to be an outlier of a game. Like, I'm not going to bench him. I'm keeping him in.
It's got to be. Yeah.
But I remember thinking, thank God Kamara went off because I got 40 out of him and 1 out of fucking Devontae Adams.
Yeah, but if I'm the coach and somebody tells me, or even if your receiver walks over and tells you, hey, coach, I've got 1 catch in this game. We got to get you more involved. We got to find a way. I mean, you've got to use your personnel better. I mean, we talk about it weekly with the running backs and teams that don't run enough. And yeah, I mean, that's the opposite right there, where you're not, you paid him all that money. He's just an expensive decoy at that point. And it didn't work out. You didn't get any points. So Bill's got this crazy record, dude, where he's beaten the Jets 13 straight times now. Even though the Jets are an improved team, Bill's got their number.
I thought the Jets might have had this one this time. They were 5-2 going into this game.
I saw, dude. When I saw the stat, I was like, he was 12-0 coming into this game in the last 12 against the Jets. I was like, Bill's going to win this game. He's going to find a way with his personnel, especially after they got embarrassed by Chicago in the run game. And I told you they'd defend the run well. Look at this. New York rushing, who had been killing everybody on the ground. We'd been talking about it. Zach Wilson's been throwing for barely 100 yards every week. New York rushing after the Patriots got embarrassed for over 240 last week. 15 carries, 51 yards. So they definitely shored up the run game. I mean, Zach Wilson had to throw for 355 in this one, 2 touchdowns, 3 picks. So obviously when they made Zach Wilson throw a little bit, obviously kind of exposed the kid. James Robinson in his first game with the Jets, he's still learning the offense. 5 carries, 17 yards. Mac Jones didn't do anything too crazy. He was 24-35. First full game back from the ankle injury. 1 touchdown, 1 pick. So Patriots 4-4, Jets 5-3, as the Patriots kind of continue to try to inch back up in that division, but obviously Buffalo's leading the division and they continue to win.
Right.
And Battle of Pennsylvania.
We got these piece of shit undefeated Eagles winning again.
Yeah, the Battle of Pennsylvania going off here. The Eagles going to 7-0 after they demolished the Pittsburgh Steelers, who were 2-6. Looking like Mike Tomlin and this is so impressive that Tomlin's never had a losing. He's been 8-8 once or twice, but he's never had a losing season in Pittsburgh. But it looks like that may change this season because obviously they've got an uphill battle. Kenny Pickett, 25 of 38, 191, intercepted one time, threw no touchdowns. Jalen Hurts, 19 of 28, 285, 4 touchdown passes. Damn.
Jesus.
Yeah. Well, he only ran for 10 yards in this game, Jalen Hurts did, so that's surprising. He did it with his arm. Did it with his arm.
I don't want to see that at all. Fuck.
Yeah. He's a pretty good passer, but yeah, I mean, Najee continued. What did I say? Najee wasn't going to do shit against the Eagles. Eight carries, 32 yards. Najee's been having a rough struggle. Chase Claypool's last game as a Steeler, 4 for 45. Got his ass traded to the Bears. A.J. Brown joined in the 3-touchdown club with 6 catches for 156 yards and 3 touchdowns. There's this metric that A.J. Brown alone, since he's been traded to the Eagles from the Titans, has amassed more catches, more yards, and more touchdowns than every receiver on the Titans roster.
Oof. Ouch.
Yeah.
That's painful.
Yep. Washington getting it's a win streak now, bud. When you get that many in a row, it's a win streak.
It's 3 in a row. I mean, you got to call it what it is. This game.
It is what it is.
Oh man, I'm gonna be honest. We'll talk more about it in a minute, but I really did not expect to get the win. It was basically Terry. Terry basically just kind of saved us.
Goddamn hero.
Got
that's
us
why.
The game is what happened.
That's why.
We'll talk more about it a bit later, but Heineke actually had a pretty good game. 23 for 31, 279 yards, 1 touchdown.
Yeah.
And then Terry 6 receptions for 113 yards. They were definitely the winners of the game, I would say.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I liked what you said. You're like, fuck it, Terry's down there somewhere.
Oh yeah, that's the best.
Just blind fires the pass
so many times.
It was like
numerous times where he throws a bomb to Terry and Terry makes a great catch. So every time I see it, it's like, fuck it, Terry down there somewhere. Close my eyes and throw it.
And that's just something that you weren't getting with Carson. I mean, Carson was just standing in the pocket trying to make a play. I mean, it seemed like he was just a little bit tentative sometimes. Obviously, Taylor, red hot coming out the gates. He's started 2 of those games. And I mean, he threw the ball well in this game. 23 of 31, 279, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. And then, going up against rookie Sam Ehlinger, who was 17 of 23, 201 yards. I think he threw for the same amount of yards as Taylor did the week before, 201. But
yeah, glad to get the win
another
there.
Big win. We'll obviously, break down that game more a little bit later. So join us for the Commanders countdown for that.
We can cover the Niners-Rams.
Yeah,
win. The Niners win over the Rams as usual, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, eight straight in the regular season. Jimmy Garoppolo now 8-0 against the Rams in the regular season. Unfortunately, those sons of bitches did get us in the NFC Championship game, but fuck them because honestly, Kyle's your daddy, Sean. But yeah, I mean, this game it looked rough for a while. I mean, the Rams at one point were up 14-7, and I was like, oh no. What's happening here? But we rallied back. I mean, the Rams didn't score anything in the second half. Yeah,
I mean, or the Niners defense stepped up, whichever way you want to look at it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we finally, after 2 weeks of struggling against Kansas City and Atlanta, we finally again played like the league's
that
#1
Atlanta
defense.
Game. Oh shit, I forgot about that one. Ugh.
We seem to not play great against Atlanta. I mean, remember when we went to the Super Bowl in 2019? On our path to the Super Bowl, they beat us with that Julio Jones touchdown at the goal line. It was fucking terrible. So I mean, we've struggled against Atlanta before. So, but still, you expect to beat a team like that for sure.
Yeah, you really do.
But back on the winning track, and this week we're on a bye. This is the most stress-free week of football for me all season. Right here is the Niners bye week because I can just sit back and watch the rest of the league and just enjoy it. So that'll be nice.
Yeah.
Also, you got to give it. I mean, we're going to talk more about this later, but Jimmy played the game of his fucking life.
Yeah, he really did.
We'll get more into that later. So this one's kind of a bittersweet one. The Giants finally got their second loss of the season, but it had to come at a Seahawk win. You son of a bitch. But yeah, Seattle playing really good football. I mean, really, their worst game all season was against us, the 27-7 loss. And I mean, I hope that can continue when we play them again. Personally, I think they're going to give us a better showing. Absolutely. I mean, I don't expect that to be the case again. But I mean, that'd be great if we did beat their ass like that. But yeah, Geno playing great football. I mean, he's got the Seahawks at 5-3. Giants are 6-2. Ken Walker, the rookie back, who's pretty much all that's left for Seattle, had 18 carries, 51 yards, and a touchdown. Saquon, 20 carries for 53 yards and a touchdown. So both backs did about the same.
Pretty terrible, other than the touchdown, really.
Yeah, I mean, Saquon definitely. I'll have to look at who the leading backs are in the league right now and see if it's got to still be Chubb, but I wonder if Saquon's still second, especially with Derrick Henry having that 200-yard performance. I mean, he may have just moved into second himself, but I'll look at that in 1 second. Actually, while I pull that up, you should mention the next game here, bud.
All right, well, we got the Packers-Bills game. Bills beat them 27-17. I'm not really too surprised with this. I mean, if it was another year, I would have said I'd expect the Packers to put up a better fight. Yeah. But the Packers have looked like shit this year, and the Bills, like they have, for a while now, look like one of the best teams in the league. Yeah. It's kind of personally, an odd game.
I would argue it the opposite way. I would say that the fact that with Green Bay not having the offensive weapons that they have, to lose by only 10, in put up 17, the way that they've been struggling was actually
that's not true. Too bad. That's true. You're right. I mean, both takes are. I mean, they're not as good as they were, but that's true. They don't have the weapons they did, and they still against the Bills team to only lose by 10 really isn't terrible.
The Bills might be the best team in football right now. I mean, obviously you'd have to argue the Eagles because of the 7-0 thing, but I think the Bills have played.
That's a fluke. That's a fluke. I think. I don't know about that shit. It's gonna fall apart. At least I hope to God it does.
I mean, I think if the Bills play the Eagles head to head, I think the Bills win.
I think so as well.
Yeah.
This was a weird game, though, for Josh Allen. He only threw 13 for 25, 218 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
It's a weird game for both quarterbacks, yeah. I mean, neither one of them really. Aaron on the other side, 19 out of 30, 203, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. But the Packers ran for 208. Aaron Jones went off. He had 20 carries, 143.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, they got no receivers, dude. Sammy Watkins, 1 catch, 3 yards. Romeo Doubs was their best option, 4 catches for 62 yards. Jesus. They had to throw to Robert Tonyan, 5 catches for 35 yards.
Wow.
Samari Toure, 1 catch, 37 yards, and a touchdown.
I'm sorry,
Christian Watson was in that game, their second-round pick. He had 1 catch for 12 yards, and then he left with a concussion. So,
God.
So it's they were thin anyway, and then they went into that game and they started losing guys. So it's that's not what you want to see.
Jesus.
And then, okay. So Saquon, just a side note here. Chubb still leads in NFL rushing with 841. Fucking monster. Saquon still in second with 779. Derrick Henry has moved into third though with 755.
Okay.
Josh Jacobs in fourth with 676, and Aaron Jones moves into the top 5 with 575.
All right.
Also, Nicholas Bosa now tied with the league high 8.5 sacks.
Using his full name there, Nicholas
Bosa.
All right, we got one more game left.
We got one more. Battle of Ohio, baby. Battle of Ohio.
Bengals, Browns. Browns taking down the Bengals, which I have to say I kind of had the Bengals in this one, not the Browns. So
I had the Browns in this one. And
really?
Almost. I almost would have won some money on this one if.
You should have then.
No. So here's I had player props mixed with it, and Joe Mixon didn't get me 50 yards. Joe Mixon continues to be a major disappointment for me in fantasy and also in player props. Joe Mixon 8 carries for 27 yards when I needed him to get 50. Notably, Joe Burrow was without Jamar Chase, his top receiver. He, the notice was, it was very noticeable. He was 25 of 35, 232, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, sacked 5 times by that Browns defense with Myles Garrett. And Myles Garrett, who's a huge Halloween enthusiast, I'm sure you've seen it before, where he had the quarterback graveyard of all the quarterbacks he's sacked.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney and that Browns defense going off. Joe Burrow's offensive line continues to be one of the worst in football. But you got to give it to Jacoby Brissett playing his best game of the season. 17 of 22, 278, 1 touchdown, no picks. And Jacoby ran one in as well, a rushing touchdown. Nick Chubb, 101 yards, 2 touchdowns.
As always, good.
Always got to play him. I mean, he's the leading rusher in the league.
Yeah.
But the Bengals, after winning 4 straight, they dropped to 4-4. The Browns needed this win because they were 2-5 coming in. If they would have went to 2-6, their season's basically over.
That's why I thought the Bengals would win. They've been doing well, and the Browns haven't.
That's what I was going to mention, bud. Yeah. So the Bengals, since 1998, bud, 1-22 in primetime games. That's why I picked the Browns.
Wow. They're the Kirk Cousins of football teams.
Yeah. So that's why you got to look at these boys. So it's like, the Bengals, better team on paper. They also didn't have Jamar Chase, which obviously impacted their ability to pass the ball a lot as well. I mean, they lost 32-13.
Yeah.
They got not only beaten, they got fucking blown out.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to this week's Commanders Countdown. Recapping the 3rd straight win, going into hopefully 4 this next week, like last season, which is definitely great. But before we do that, I feel like there is some more pressing news that everyone's obviously aware of. Dan Snyder might finally be selling the team. So it could be good news. Although, I mean, like right now I'm seeing Jay-Z and Jeff Bezos are like...
There's been some... Byron Allen... Billionaire Byron Allen has been a name that's emerged.
But if Bezos wants it, he can outbid him. So I'm not really sure how I would feel about the Bezos thing. But I know
especially me going into this possible Amazon job, I was like, I'd be working for the potential Commanders somehow indirectly.
Yeah. I mean, I still, until something really happens for sure, I take all this with a grain of salt, because there's always been rumors around Dan Snyder. I mean, a lot more has happened recently. It said that he acquired Bank of America securities to look into offers for the team. And then as time has progressed, now we're seeing that, Bezos and Jay-Z might, at first I'm thinking these are just bullshit rumors, but I'm actually seeing them on, credible websites now. So it's like, all right, well, maybe this is something to actually...
and this has also been reported by Schefter as well. So, yeah, I mean, obviously, Jay-Z's been in the running. I've seen RG3 put out a tweet that he wants to, save up some money with some fans and try to buy a minority stake in the team. So, I mean, everybody's, putting in an interest here. But, I mean, obviously, Bezos has to be one of the favorites. And obviously, right now, I think Schefter asked about whether this would be, whether they're trying to sell the team as a whole or just like a minority stake. And then the response from the Snyders was that they're open for potentially any, they're open for any offers to see.
Okay, see, I didn't hear about that, because I thought that might still be a possibility, that he's just looking for minority stake owners, maybe to try and build a stadium. So he's open to move the entire franchise. Absolutely. Wow. Okay. Well,
and then then you'd wonder if that land that they purchased as well would be part of the package. Remember that land that they acquired in Virginia last year? I wonder if that'd be a part of the package as well. And then I've seen some people have the issue with, like, if they're like, okay, well, if we were to get a new owner, like, this is like the one perk to Dan Snyder. It's like, if we got a new owner, maybe they'd try to relocate the team, which that's true. That's always a possibility, and that would suck. But
I have heard that, but I mean, don't the other NFL owners have to approve something like that? Like, there has to be,
it would have to be
a good
approved.
Reason. Like, there's got to be a market somewhere that they think that they can tap in order to move a team from where they're from. And I mean, with the Ravens being another Maryland team, I think that could be an argument. A lot of fans have moved on to the Ravens over Washington. I know I hate to say that, but I've heard that before. So it could be possible that a new owner might look into moving the team, and that would suck. Yeah,
absolutely. You would definitely hate to see that, especially with the tradition. I mean, they've been there since 1932, I believe.
It was established. Yeah.
So, I mean, definitely don't want to see that. The other thing, too, about if the team were to be purchased, whoever the purchasing party would have to be approved by 24 of the league's 32 owners as well. So that's notable.
Definitely monitor that situation. Until things really happen, I'm not going to make any, Dan's selling the team. I'm not going to go out there and say that, because until something really happens, you don't know.
Right.
But the way that it's looking, it looks like it is, I would say, more likely than not that the team might be sold. So
it's as close to happening as it's ever been before. And then also on the heels of this emerging, it's also been mentioned from the U.S. Attorney's Office in Eastern Virginia that there's been a a criminal investigation opened up, looking into potential allegations of financial improprieties with the Washington Commanders as well. So wonder if that has anything to do with the timing of the move. I mean, obviously Dan has been adamant for years that he would never sell the team. And now he's like, well, he's at least thinking about it. So definitely a day that I'm sure a lot of Washington fans thought they'd never live to see. So
that's why I have a hard time looking at these things. Like, oh, okay, well, this is, nothing's going to happen. But now it's like, this is more that's ever happened before. So at this point, I'm kind of optimistic. But that's a whole other conversation too about like, oh, the new owner, what they might do. Like, we'll get more into that later on as this situation develops. But a new owner doesn't necessarily mean good. Dan Snyder hasn't been good.
It's true.
Like, it's one of those things. It could be just as bad or worse. So we'll definitely monitor what happens with that. And
there's
some
other
bad
good
owners
in the NFL. Yeah.
Mersey, the one person to speak out, it's Dan Snyder. He's like one of the other worst owners. I thought that was funny.
And then, of course, you got Bobby Kraft in New England, too, with his, like, prostitution.
Yeah. And some other good news, Chase Young finally returns to practice, and they have 21 days to activate him to the roster. So I don't expect we'll see him this week against the Vikings. Probably not next week either. I would think the following week would be when we'll see him. But if we're lucky, maybe it'll be after this game.
Yeah, and I know that once he does hit the field, he's going to be part of a rotation, obviously with like James Smith-Williams and Casey Toohill. Those guys have been doing a pretty good job filling in. Obviously, the defense is starting to play. They're starting to find their groove. Obviously, early in the season when they were getting gashed, a lot of calls for JDR's job. And, obviously staying the course and staying patient proved, with both coordinators, proved to be, I mean, not that the offense is scoring a ton of points right now, but they're scoring enough. I mean, and obviously Scott Turner had to basically just change his offensive system for a new quarterback. But yeah, great to see Chase return. You do expect him to be on a limited snap count when he does come back, but I mean, he's rehabbing that ACL, which from what I understand, it was like a worse ACL injury than what like Bosa got, from my understanding, right?
Yeah, the time frame on their recovery is about the same. Bosa was about a year, and Chase, I think, is about a year as well. So, because people have been saying like, "Oh, why isn't he playing yet? Why isn't he playing yet? That's so stupid." Bro, it's an injury. You got to play that shit smart. And
I mean, especially like, have you guys not seen what's happened in Washington from like, notable situation, Robert Griffin III?
I'm saying, like, Washington in the past, like that's exactly what I'm saying. Like, so it's like, guys,
let's not rush him back on the field.
Relax, like let him heal and then come back out. So.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree.
The two big stories that Chase and Dan Snyder possibly selling the team. As I was saying in the beginning, we did come off a win this week over the Colts, 17-16. It was as the last three wins have been. It wasn't exactly pretty. The team has looked better in ways over the last 3 weeks, but still not a pretty win. And if I'm perfectly honest, when it was 10-16 and we had one drive to score, I was like, well, there's
you were not excited. I remember you were texting me.
Absolutely no way.
You're like,
I think I said, I was like, yeah, Taylor's not Mahomes, bro. He can't throw a bomb down the field. And then what does he do like 2 plays later? Throws a bomb to Terry, and it's like
I think I was like, what? I was like, what were you saying, bud?
I was like, well, I'm not mad about it, but I didn't expect it. Shit.
Yeah. Take that with your fucking noodle arm argument.
The argument can be made the pass could have been a little deeper into the end zone where Terry wouldn't have had to wrestle for it. Terry kind of saved the game there because both him and the defender had their hands on the ball, and he kind of ripped it from him. Yeah, but. There's a thing with Taylor and Terry. There seems to be like a connection there. It just works out. I don't know what it is.
And that's why you're paying Terry that money. I mean, like if anybody had that doubt, that's why that man is, in my opinion, I've been saying this a long time. I think Terry McLaurin's a top 10 receiver in the NFL, in my opinion. I mean, the only thing that's stopping him from breaking out more is the lack of targets that he's gotten in an inconsistent system, having the transition between quarterbacks. And not just this year. That's happened to him countless times. It's like, oh, Alex Smith's your quarterback. Case Keenum's your quarterback now, bud. Guess what? Now Carson Wentz is your quarterback. Now Taylor's your quarterback. It's like the man's been through so much quarterback transition, and he produces with everybody.
Him and Taylor back and Terry actually getting a lot of targets. I mean, he was 6 for 113 this game. Yep. Much better than he's been in previous weeks. Gibson had 7 receptions for 58. Samuel had 3 for 50. So, they were getting work done. And on the ground,
Yeah.
we managed to stop Indianapolis from getting a whole lot done. I mean, they had 29 carries for 135.
Yeah, I mean,
Not
John Taylor's
particularly.
16 carries for 76 yards, 4.8 yard average, which isn't bad. He had a long of 27. But outside of him, I mean, you had the one like end around play that they ran to receiver Paris Campbell for 28. But besides that, you shut him down pretty well. I mean, rookie quarterback Sam Ellinger, 17 out of 23, 201. No touchdowns, no picks. You guys sacked him twice. The sacks went to Mr. Deron Payne and John Allen, who are both playing really well this season. Really happy to see that Deron Payne wasn't traded. That was a lot of speculation, but John Allen's got 4.5 sacks on the season now, and Deron Payne has 4.5 as well. So both of those guys playing good football at this point. The one thing that I did notice about this game was after you guys ran the ball really well the last 2 weeks, struggled a little bit here, especially with the backs. I mean, the stats aren't going to look so bad, the 28 for 96, because there was some, Taylor had 29, and then Curtis Samuel had 29.
3.4
but yeah.
average yards, that's not good at all.
Yeah. I mean, but Brian Robinson, your top back, 8 carries, 20 yards. Antonio Gibson, 7 carries, 19 yards. So they stuffed the backs pretty well. So obviously Scott Turner had to get creative with the running game. And I mean, Taylor out there throwing for 279, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. So, I mean, he had a better game than he did last week. That's for sure.
Like all the last few wins have been, but hey, I'll take the win. And I mean, we're going into Minnesota this week, playing Kirk Cousins again, or
Yeah.
I don't know about again, but you know what I mean. He used to play for
return.
us.
The return of Kirk, yeah.
Like, you know what
exactly.
I meant.
Yeah, no, I do.
And they're 6-1, which is a little surprising. I think that it's kind of like the Eagles. They might have that record, but I don't really know if the team is that good overall. So if we can come out and really play our best, I think we can win.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously with them, key things to talk about in that situation are going to be the, you got Justin Jefferson and Dalvin Cook. They're their top 2 weapons. Oh, and I guess they've got Hawkinson now that they just traded for. So it'll be interesting to see how involved Hawkinson is, because he just came over from the Lions this week. So he's not going to know the entire offense. Obviously, I assume that Kendall Fuller's been having a pretty decent season, obviously. And then you guys have been having St. Juice step up opposite of him, obviously with William Jackson III now being traded to Pittsburgh, which we mentioned earlier in the show. If you haven't heard, William Jackson III traded to Pittsburgh, him in a 6th round pick in exchange for a 5th round. Really, the main thing to talk about here is Washington getting out of the rest of that $42 million salary that was owed to Mr. Jackson. He was limited to, I think, 5 games this season with that back injury. And even when he was in there, he was struggling a bit. But yeah, I mean, shutting down Justin Jefferson, you assume that's going to be on Fuller. Shutting down Dalvin Cook is going to be on the defensive line and linebackers. Do we know if Cole Holcomb is cleared to play this week after missing last week?
I hope so, but I'm actually not sure.
Yeah, so I'm looking at their injury report and he's not listed. So that's why I ask, because I see that the injuries we have for this week are J.D. McKissick with a neck. He didn't practice. He didn't practice today. Jahan Dotson still nursing that hamstring. And then Logan Thomas.
This has a question mark. I don't even know then.
Okay. Yeah, so, and then Logan Thomas has been limited with a calf injury, although he did play in the Colts game, although he wasn't targeted. I think he played like 30% of the snaps.
He did not participate in practice on Thursday, so I'm going to go ahead and just go out on a limb. He's probably not going to play.
Probably not, yeah. And I was going to say this is probably related because they did promote 2 linebackers off the practice squad. Nathan Jerry and Dejon Harris have both been promoted. So I assume probably moves in anticipation that he probably won't be playing on Sunday. But yeah, obviously they used Jamin Davis and then Bostic and Mayo last weekend. I mean, it worked to some degree. I mean, you guys limited the Colts. I mean, part of that was obviously them starting a rookie quarterback. But, I mean, obviously the Vikings offense is going to be more explosive. But, good chance to go to, get 4 straight wins and go to 5-4. But, I mean, was helpful that the Giants lost a game.
I don't. If we lose, I will not be surprised. But I think that there's a potential to win. So.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for joining us, everybody, on this week's Commanders Countdown. We will recap the Minnesota Vikings game next week. Hopefully, the 4th straight win. Move to 5-4.
Absolutely, absolutely. And for weekly Commanders content, make sure that you guys like and subscribe, and follow us on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok as well. Thanks. Hey, what's going on, faithful? Thanks for joining us on the Niners news update this week. Obviously, it is the bye week, the most stress-free week of the football season for us Niner fans. We get to sit back and watch the rest of the NFL beat each other up this weekend, so that'll be exciting. We are coming into the bye red hot after a beatdown of the Los Angeles Rams, making that now 8 straight wins over the Rams in the regular season. Jimmy Garoppolo 8-0 against the Rams in the regular season, and Kyle Shanahan, with the exception of last year's NFC Championship game, continues to be Sean McVay's daddy. So, although, just real quick, I do want to get into this. Just speaking of McVay, thoughts and prayers go out to the McVay family, because Sean's grandfather, John McVay, former Niners GM, back when we drafted those Super Bowl teams, he was the coach when Bill Walsh was, our legendary coach Bill Walsh. He was part of assembling all those teams through the draft. He tragically passed away yesterday, and obviously John McVay is Sean McVay's grandfather. So thoughts and prayers to the McVay family right now as well. Obviously coming off a rough week for Sean McVay, because earlier in the week he got demolished, or his team got demolished 31-14 by the Niners. Not really a huge surprise, because we beat them earlier in the season 24-13 was, I believe, what the score was. So we've now officially swept the Rams this season, and we are officially now 3-0 against the division. So that's definitely good so far. We still do have 3 divisional games as well, 2 against the Cardinals and 1 against the Seahawks.
I mean, division's wide open still, really.
Yeah. Seahawks right now. We were in first, but the Seahawks have now moved into first with a 5-3 record. Obviously, we're 4-4 in second place. Rams are 3-4, and then Arizona 3-5. But yeah, it still is absolutely wide open. Let's talk about the game a little bit here. So for the game, I mean, we've got to give props where they're due. I mean, I know that a lot of the faithful, I mean, it's probably like a 60-40 split between, if you like Jimmy or if you don't like Jimmy. You've got to admit he played a good game. I mean, and that wasn't all checkdowns. He was throwing the ball down the field. I mean, Jimmy's deep ball has progressively gotten better throughout the season. I know that's always been a knock. He's got some more guys to throw downfield now, with Ayuk getting better and Ray McLeod. I mean, he had a drop a couple weeks ago where he hit Charlie Warner right up the seam in the hands, and Charlie just dropped the ball. It was a perfect throw. But Jimmy's deep ball accuracy definitely improving. Jimmy having the best game I've ever seen him have, going 21-25, 235 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. He was sacked 3 times, but, that's not too surprising against the Rams. His QBR, 81.1, rating 132.5. I mean, a good QBR is around 50 or 60. His was 81.1.
This isn't a serious comment, but you know who did better than him and every other quarterback in the league this week?
Who?
In terms of rating, Christian McCaffrey. Got a 100 QBR and a 158.3 rating.
Well, yeah, it's hard to compete when you throw one deep ball and it's a touchdown. And
I know, that's why I said this isn't a serious thing, but
yeah. But that is the perfect rating. The 158.3 is the perfect rating that you strive for. You know who didn't have a perfect rating of QBR?
Matt Stafford.
Matty Stafford was 22 of 33, 180. He didn't even get 200 yards.
Yeah, I don't even know what the hell happened.
187, 1 touchdown,
Jesus.
no picks, sacked twice. I mean, and again, they didn't run well. They ran 21 times for 56 yards. I mean, we held them to 2.7 yards a carry.
They didn't do anything well, really, if you look at the stats.
No.
And it doesn't, not passing, rushing, like.
Even stuffing the ball to Cooper Kupp only got him 79 yards. 8 catches on 12 targets.
I mean,
Allen
that's
Robinson
good. That's great numbers, but not enough.
Yeah, I know. Allen Robinson did get more involved with 5 catches, 54 yards. Christian McCaffrey, though, like I said, Jimmy had a great game. You definitely got to give it up to him, whether you're a fan of Jimmy personally or not. I mean, you're a Niners fan if you're watching this podcast, so I mean, you got to respect it. I mean, sure, the man's limited, but it's hard to really shit talk that. I mean, you've got to just be a hater at that point. But if he's going to be outdone by anybody on that roster, it had to be CMC. I mean, McCaffrey's only been here 2 weeks, and in his second game, he throws a 34-yard touchdown pass to Ayuk. He runs 18 times for 94 yards and scores a rushing touchdown. And he catches 8 passes for 55 yards and has a receiving touchdown. So
the trifecta.
He really did it all. Yeah,
trifecta.
He got the touchdown triple crown for sure. Ayuk, for the 3rd straight week, had 5 or more catches and 80-plus yards. He had 6 catches, 81 yards, and a touchdown. Ayuk continues to be one of the most consistent players that we've had for the last 3 or 4 weeks. And we needed him to be because we were without there was no Juwan Jennings, no Deebo Samuel in this game. And Deebo's our Rams killer. So you're like, how are we going to beat the Rams without Deebo? And,
right.
Well, we've never had Christian McCaffrey before.
Yeah.
And obviously he kind of filled the role of our Deebo Samuel. Obviously, got to give it up to Jeff Wilson in his last game as a Niner. Thank you, Jeff, for everything that you did for us over the course of the last 4 or 5 years. I mean, Jeff Wilson, through 8 games, was our leading rusher with 468 yards. He had 4 carries for 14 yards in his last game as a Niner. Also 2 catches for 21 yards. It was announced at the trade deadline he was traded to former Niner OC Mike McDaniel and the Miami Dolphins. So they now get our second running back in about a year after we sent them Raheem in the offseason. So definitely wanted to take a moment to thank Jeff for everything that he's done for the 49er franchise. He's stepped up a lot while we've had injuries. Obviously an undrafted player. Was never really supposed to be the lead back for the Niners. And I mean, whenever we called upon him, he did great things for us. So love you, El Jefe. Hope you have a good time in Miami enjoying those margaritas and warm sandy beaches. Kittle, second straight week with a touchdown, 3 catches, 39 yards and a touchdown. So after starting off slow, he's been getting a little bit more involved in the offense. And Ross the Boss Dwelly, 1 catch for 56 yards. So Ross hasn't caught many passes on the season, but he just caught a bomb right there. So that's pretty much the top offensive performers. On the defensive side, we had Nick Bosa getting a sack and a half, which now brings him into a tie with Matt Judon with 8.5. So he's tied for the league lead. And, of course, worth noting, he's only done that in 7 games. He did miss 1 game with a groin injury. So he's done it in 1 less game than Matt Judon. And then Fred Warner also had 12 tackles and a half sack. So he played pretty well in addition defensively. And, I mean, our whole defense played pretty well. I mean, the Rams scored 14 points in the first half. And then
absolutely nothing the rest of the game.
Yeah.
Can't ask for better than that. Shit.
Yeah. I mean, we came in with the number 1 ranked defense a couple weeks ago. We got humiliated by Kansas City, and we got humiliated by Atlanta on the defensive side of the ball. They just pushed us around. They just bullied us around on the line of scrimmage. So it was good to come in there and get a win and, really just bully the other team. Obviously, the Rams are last year's Super Bowl champs, and we've swept them.
Yeah.
So if we see the Rams again this season, it's going to be the playoffs. But if the season ended right now, the Rams aren't in the playoffs because they're struggling. They're struggling. Also in that game, Robbie Gould moving into 11th place all time on the NFL scoring list. We'd be remiss if we didn't talk about Robbie, 11th all time. With he made 1 field goal from 29 yards and 4 extra points. So he scored 7 points in that game. And, I mean, I wish I still had Robbie as my kicker for fantasy. It would have helped me out this week, although I still would have lost. Because I I had Evan McPherson, who's a great kicker, but he misses his one field goal, has an extra point blocked, and then he makes his other one. So he got me 0 points because he missed the field goal and the extra point.
That sucks.
So at least I would have gotten 7 points out of Robbie. But Robbie 11th all time continues to be very consistent. Robbie Maddock, I'm sure he'll probably move up another spot or two by the time he hangs it up. Our 39-year-old kicker.
Right.
And that's really what I have to say about the game. I mean, like I said, continued domination of the Rams, which you love to see. Probably one of our most dominating wins of the season besides the Carolina game. Best game we've seen Jimmy play. Really happy to have CMC. And this is what the Niners team is potentially going to look like after the bye week. I mean, these are all players expected back after the bye. This is like a who's who of, good players. There's nobody on this list that's not an impact player or a starter. You've got Elijah Mitchell, who was our starter. Obviously, now Christian McCaffrey may be the starter. But, Elijah Mitchell's going to come back and have something to say about that, I would imagine. He's going to be working hard for carries.
It'll be a competition, I'd assume. Or they'll use them both equally and save some, keep both rested.
Or they'll do that thing, which I like, where I think that Washington needs to do this more, where they line like McCaffrey up at the receiver and have Mitchell in the backfield. I like when Washington does that with Robinson and Gibson. I think
Definitely.
Gives the defense more things to be aware of. So we've got Elijah Mitchell coming back, who hasn't played since week 1. Jason Verrett, cornerback, is expected back after not playing since week 1 of last season against the Lions when he tore his ACL. Deebo Samuel, after missing 1 game with a hammy, is expected back, which, Deebo's our best offensive... Well, is Deebo still our best offensive weapon with CMC?
Yeah, well, that remains to be seen. We'll have to see how it goes. It's only one game that is
this
that
season,
great.
Kittle and Ayuk might have something to say about best offensive weapon, too. It's like, we got a lot of them. And then maybe your best offensive weapon is big-ass Trent Williams, who makes it all happen. Because anything you run to that side of the line, the left side, is going to be pretty much open for business. Juwan Jennings, who missed last week's game. We were really playing with basically just Ayuk and Ray McLeod at receiver and Danny Gray last week. We didn't have many guys left out there, but we still got the win. Dre Greenlaw, expected to come back, our starting linebacker. Juszczyk is expected to be back after missing 1 week with the fucking broken finger.
Broken finger.
Yeah, that thing was intense. They actually posted a pretty entertaining Halloween picture. It's McCaffrey, Jimmy, Kittle, and Juice, and they're all dressed up. Jimmy's a cowboy. We'll put it up on the screen because I have it saved. But yeah, it was pretty hilarious that they did. They all dressed up and did like a team Halloween thing. But you can tell like Juice's finger is like totally still like in the splint. He's like still got like the little. It's all wrapped up and everything. And we're also expecting this guy back. He's been out with foot and ankle injuries all season long. Eric Armstead has only played in 3 games. We're expecting him back as well. So that would be a big get because obviously we've been playing without him and Javon Kinlaw, who are our top 2 defensive tackles. Probably why teams have been able to run as well against us the last couple weeks, but definitely be great to get Armstead back. And yeah, we're not going to have a game to recap next week, but I'm sure there will be some Niner-related news that we'll talk about. So join us next week as we cover that. And, check out our other segments as well. Obviously, there's a lot going on in Washington. So, if you're interested in NFL stuff
yes,
with
there
potential change in ownership, check that out. Also, like and subscribe for weekly 49ers and NFL content because if it happens, we'll be talking about it.
Definitely.
See ya. And that's going to do it for the Extra Point Show this week. Make sure that you subscribe if you're not already. It really helps us out and helps us grow. Give us a like as well.
Absolutely. And if you're a Washington fan or a San Francisco fan, make sure to always check out the Commanders Countdown and the Niners News Update.
Okay, well, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you all next week.
See you next week.